October 23rd, 2023, 7:14 a.m. Donetsk Oblast, Russian artillery position. A Russian Tu-S-19 Mesta self-propelled howitzer fires a 152mm shell. Standard procedure. Target Ukrainian defensive position 18 kilometers away. The shell exits barrel. Gun tube ruptures catastrophically. Breech explodes backward into crew compartment. 3 Russian soldiers killed instantly. 1 survives with severe injuries. Cause of failure: defective North Korean ammunition. Overpressure. Propellant charge exceeded design specifications. Barrel couldn't contain force. Metallurgy failure in shell casing. The combination created catastrophic failure that killed crew from their own weapon. This isn't isolated incident. Between August 2023 and February 2024, Russian forces receive approximately 3 million artillery shells from North Korea. Failure rate estimated 10-15%. That's 300,000, 450,000 defective rounds. Some misfire, some fail to detonate, some explode prematurely, and some destroy the guns firing them, killing crews in process. This is MilFront. And what's happening with North Korean ammunition isn't just a quality control problem. It's strategic desperation manifesting as tactical catastrophe, where ammunition shortage forces acceptance of weapons that kill your own soldiers, where military necessity overrides safety considerations, where the choice is fire dangerous ammunition or don't fire at all, and that choice defines desperation warfare. The question isn't whether North Korean ammunition is defective. Russian casualties from barrel explosions prove that. The question is why Russia accepts these casualties, continues using ammunition despite known risks, and whether the strategic calculation, trading crew deaths for sustained artillery fire, is rational or represents institutional failure that compounds losses. Official Russian statements. Silence. No acknowledgement of North Korean ammunition problems. No casualty figures from barrel failures. Complete informational blackout. Because admitting your ammunition kills your own soldiers is indefensible politically. Better to hide deaths than explain them. North Korean statements, non-existent. North Korea doesn't officially acknowledge ammunition transfers to Russia. Plausible deniability. International sanctions violations. Better to maintain fiction than admit arms dealing that violates UN Security Council resolutions. Stay with me. Because the detail that explains why Russia accepts deadly defective ammunition, why crews continue using rounds that might kill them, is going to show you that desperation changes risk calculation. When alternatives are worse than dangerous options, dangerous becomes acceptable. And that acceptance defines how desperately Russia needs sustained artillery capability. Let's establish what we're actually dealing with. The ammunition, the defects, the failures. North Korean 150 artillery shells, Soviet-era design. Manufactured in North Korean facilities. Quality control, unknown but evidently insufficient. Specifications, should match standard 152mm Soviet-Russian ammunition. Range, explosive effect, propellant charge, all theoretically compatible with Russian guns. Reality, compatibility problems. Propellant charge is inconsistent. Some underpowered. Some overpowered. Shell metallurgy suspect. Fuses unreliable. Storage conditions unknown. Age of ammunition unknown. Could be recent production. Could be decades old stockpile. Quality varies batch to batch, shell to shell. Russian crews can't predict which rounds are safe. Failure modes, misfires. Round doesn't fire when struck. Dud. Must be manually extracted. Dangerous when propellant charge might be unstable. Premature detonation. Round explodes in barrel before exiting. Catastrophic. Destroys gun. Kills crew. Overpressure. Propellant charge too strong. Exceeds barrel pressure rating. Barrel ruptures. Crew casualties. Under pressure. Round fires but doesn't reach target. Tactical failure but not lethal to crew. Most dangerous mode. Barrel explosion from overpressure. This is what killed crew on October 23rd. This is what Russian artillery crews fear most. Because there's no warning. Round looks normal.
Loads normally. Fires normally. Then barrel fails. Explosion. Deaths. Survivors traumatized. Everyone knows next round might do the same thing. Estimated failure rate 10-15%. That means every 7 to 10 rounds, one is defective.
Not every defective round kills crew. Some are just duds. Some are underpowered. But enough cause catastrophic failures that crews die regularly from their own weapons. Exact casualties unknown. Russian military doesn't publish these figures. But pattern is consistent. Multiple confirmed incidents. Many more unconfirmed but credible. The mathematics are brutal. Russian artillery fires thousands of rounds daily. 10% failure rate means hundreds of defective rounds fired daily. Even if only 1% of failures are catastrophic, that's multiple crew casualties daily from ammunition defects. Over months, casualties accumulate. Dozens, possibly hundreds, from equipment failure rather than enemy action. Now, Russian ammunition situation. Why they need North Korean shells despite quality problems. Russian ammunition production, insufficient. Pre-war capacity, approximately 1 million rounds per year across all calibers. Wartime consumption, estimates range 5 to 10 million rounds per year. Production can't match consumption. Deficit must be filled somehow. Stockpiles drawn down. Manufacturing increased. Still insufficient. Alternative sources, limited. Belarus provides some ammunition. Quantity insufficient. Iran provides some munitions. Mostly drones, not artillery shells. China officially neutral. Won't provide ammunition that violates sanctions. North Korea willing. Has stockpiles. Has manufacturing. Needs money or goods Russia can provide. Natural partner despite quality concerns. Strategic calculation. Accept defective ammunition or reduce artillery fire rates. Reduced fire rates means less support for ground operations, less suppression of Ukrainian positions, less effective operations, more casualties from enemy fire because friendly artillery is inadequate. The choice: lose soldiers to defective ammunition or lose soldiers to inadequate fire support. Neither good, but insufficient fire support affects more soldiers than defective ammunition. This calculation explains continued use despite known risks. It's not incompetence, it's desperate optimization. Minimize total casualties, even if that means accepting casualties from equipment failure.
Cold mathematics of desperation. October 23rd. The failure. What crew experienced? 7:12 a.m. Russian artillery battery receives fire mission. Target coordinates. Number of rounds. Standard procedure. Crews prepare. Load ammunition. North Korean shells mixed with Russian shells. No marking system distinguishes them. Crews can't tell which rounds are safe. This uncertainty matters. Remember it. 7:14 a.m. Mr. Howitzer loads shell. North Korean manufacture. Crew doesn't know this. Can't know. Shell looks identical to Russian round. Crew follows procedure. Loads. Closes breech. Aims. Fires. Shell begins exiting barrel. Propellant charge detonates. Normal. But charge is overpowered. Pressure exceeds design specifications. Barrel steel isn't rated for this pressure. Metal fatigues instantly. Cracks. Fails.
Barrel ruptures longitudinally, along length. Explosive gases vent sideways and backward into crew compartment. Fragments of barrel steel become shrapnel. High velocity. Multiple directions. Nothing stops them. Crew has no protection against this failure mode. Commander, shrapnel through torso. Killed instantly. Gunner, blast wave and fragments. Killed instantly. Loader, shrapnel through neck. Bled out within minutes. Driver, seated forward.
Partially protected by compartment divider. Severe burns. Shrapnel wounds. Survives initially. 7:14:30 a.m. Barrel failure complete. Gun destroyed. 3 dead. 1 critically wounded. Fire suppression activates. Automated systems function correctly. Prevents ammunition fire. Vehicle itself doesn't explode. crew compartment is shattered. Blood, smoke, debris, survivor screaming. Adjacent crews witness. See explosion. Understand what happened. Not enemy fire. Not lucky hit. Ammunition failure. Their own weapon killed their comrades. And they're using same ammunition. Next round they fire might do same thing. That knowledge is paralyzing. Battery commander faces decision. Continue operations with suspect ammunition or cease fire. Doctrine says continue. Mission matters more than individual casualties. Cold. Brutal. But military logic. Commander orders resume fire. Different guns. Same ammunition. Crews comply. Terrified. But comply. This is desperation warfare, where you fire weapons that might kill you because not firing it.
Where risk of death from your own equipment is acceptable, because alternative risks more deaths overall. Where individual survival is subordinated to operational necessity, regardless of cause of death. Russian response to barrel failures. Limited. Issue warnings about overpressure signs. Instruct crews to inspect rounds visually. But visual inspection can't identify internal defects. Can't predict propellant charge issues. Can't prevent failures. Instructions are theatre. Make command look responsive. Don't actually solve problem. Actual solution. Stop using North Korean ammunition. But that's impossible. Would reduce fire rates by estimated 30–40%. Unacceptable strategic impact. So warnings are issued. Procedures are written. Everyone pretends this addresses risk. Nobody believes it does. Crews develop coping mechanisms. Superstitions. Load North Korean rounds. First in sequence. Theory is if round is defective, better it fails early when fewer rounds are in vehicle. Doesn't reduce failure rate but psychologically comforting. Some crews refuse to load suspected North Korean rounds. Gets them disciplined. Most comply despite fear. Duty overrides survival instinct. Or command authority does. Now strategic analysis. Why this matters beyond individual incidents. Ammunition quality affects operations. Even non-catastrophic failures degrade effectiveness. Duds don't hit targets. Underpowered rounds fall short. Overpowered rounds overshoot. Accuracy declines. More rounds needed per target. Ammunition consumption increases to compensate for failures. This compound's shortage problem ammunition was supposed to solve. Crew morale impacts. Artillery crews know their weapons might kill them. Can't trust equipment. Creates constant stress. Affects performance. Hesitation. Fear. Some refuse to fight. Get disciplined. Others comply but effectiveness degrades. Fear makes them slower. More cautious. Less effective. The casualties from barrel failures are visible. Total impact extends beyond those deaths. Strategic vulnerability exposed. Russia depends on external ammunition supplies. Can't sustain operations from domestic production alone. This dependency creates strategic weakness. What if North Korea stops supplying? What if quality deteriorates further? Russia has no alternative that maintains current fire rates. Strategic vulnerability that opponents can potentially exploit. Propaganda impact. Difficult to control. Russian soldiers talk. Families hear stories. Videos leak. International media reports. The narrative becomes, Russia's so desperate they use ammunition that kills their own soldiers. True. Damaging. Hard to counter. Because any acknowledgement confirms problem. Any denial is discredited by casualties. Propaganda victory for opponents. 3 questions from the beginning. Time to answer them. Why does Russia accept casualties from defective ammunition? Because strategic alternative is worse. Reducing artillery fire rates affects more soldiers than defective ammunition kills. Cold calculation. Accept dozens of casualties from equipment failure to prevent hundreds from inadequate fire support. Desperation makes this rational. Not incompetence. Desperate optimization of bad options. Will Russia continue using North Korean ammunition? Yes. No alternative exists that maintains current operational tempo. Domestic production insufficient. Other suppliers inadequate. Quality improvements possible but slow. Diplomatic solutions unlikely. North Korea needs revenue. Russia needs ammunition. Neither has incentive to stop. So ammunition continues flowing despite casualties. Crews continue dying from their own weapons because no acceptable alternative exists. What does this reveal about Russian desperation? Everything. Accepting casualties from friendly equipment is ultimate desperation indicator. Reveals complete ammunition shortage. Reveals production shortfalls. Reveals strategic dependency on unreliable supplier. Reveals that military necessity overrides soldier safety. All this adds up to picture of military force pushed beyond sustainable limits. Functioning, but barely. Effective, but at tremendous cost. Viable, but not indefinitely. The lesson from North Korean ammunition crisis is that desperation changes acceptable risk. What would be unthinkable in normal circumstances becomes standard in desperate ones. Russian military accepts casualties from defective ammunition because alternative is operational collapse. That acceptance defines their strategic position more clearly than any battlefield success or failure. This is MilFront. We analyse the battles that change wars. And North Korean ammunition crisis isn't changing this war militarily. Not directly, but it reveals how close Russian military is to limits. When you accept your own ammunition killing crews, you're near breaking point. Not broken, but near. That proximity matters strategically. The crew that died October 23rd aren't unique casualties. Dozens of similar incidents. More coming. Russian military knows. Accepts. Continues. Because alternative is accepting larger casualties from inadequate fire support. Mathematics favour using defective ammunition. So deaths continue. Crews continue dying from their own weapons. And nobody stops it because nobody can without accepting worse alternative. Subscribe to MilFront. Because in modern warfare, desperation manifests in unexpected ways. Not just frontal assaults or suicide missions. Sometimes it's accepting casualties from your own equipment because you need that equipment operational regardless of safety. That acceptance reveals more about strategic position than any tactical situation. 3 million shells, 300,000, 450,000 defective, unknown number causing catastrophic failures, unknown number of crew casualties. All accepted because alternative is unacceptable. That's mathematics of desperation. Cold, brutal, rational within context of impossible choices. If you think Russia will stop using North Korean ammunition once quality issues are resolved, type MilFront in comments. If you think they'll continue regardless because no alternative exists, tell me why. Because that debate shapes whether this crisis is temporary or permanent feature of Russian artillery operations. For now, North Korean shells keep arriving. Russian guns keep firing them. Some crews keep dying from failures. And operations continue because operational necessity exceeds safety considerations. That's desperation warfare, where survival isn't priority. Operational effectiveness is, even when effectiveness comes at cost of deaths from friendly equipment. Real battles, real tactics, real consequences. Stay informed.